English Steducentre, Lesson 2, Poetry. Poetic Forms. The form of a poem defines the manner in which the poet expresses himself and the meaning that is communicated. The poet is bound by the poetic form he chooses. Example, the sonnet format. Most poems are either narrative or lyrical in form. Varied forms of poetry such as ballads, sonnets, or odes have evolved over the ages, and certain forms are associated with certain periods. Poetic forms, narrative poetry. A narrative poem tells a story. It usually has a beginning, a middle, a climax, and a conclusion. Direct and narrated speech usually makes up form of this poem. Narrative poetry was often composed to record historical, political, and family events. These poems were passed down from generation to generation. An example is The Pied Piper of Hamelin by Robert Browning. The ballad. The ballad is the oldest form of narrative story verse. At one stage it was sung to the accompaniment of a lyre, and the listeners joined in the refrain or chorus. The subject matter usually involves love, death, war, bravery, adventure, and action. The rhythm has a strong beat. The Highwayman by Alfred Noyes is an example of a famous ballad. The epic. The epic is a long narrative poem telling the story of a historical figure or event. It has been referred to as a novel in verse. Among the most famous epics are Homer's, the Iliad, and the Odyssey. The allegory. The allegory is a narrative that often appears in form of an extended metaphor. It conveys a veiled or hidden moral meaning. A well-known example is Spenser's Faerie Queene. Dramatic monologue. The dramatic monologue is spoken in the first person. The speaker addresses an invisible recipient or recipients. From his words, we often learn more about the speaker than was intended. As there is a storyline, it falls into the narrative family. Robert Browning is well known for his monologues. Example, My Last Duchess, Andrea del Sarto, and The Laboratory. The lyric. The lyric is a poem with a musical song-like quality. It conveys the personal thoughts of the poet, as in The Daffodils. Originally, like the ballad, it was accompanied by the lyre. This format was favored by romantic poets. Example, Wordsworth, Keats, and Shelley. Some lyrics may include a narrative element. For example, The Hunchback in the Park by Dylan Thomas. Sonnets. Sonnets are 14-line poems which depend on definite rhyme schemes. They convey the poet's feeling about the matter of personal importance. The Elizabeth or Shakespearean sonnet. This form uses 3 quatrains, followed by a rhyming couplet A B A B, C D C D, E F E F, G G. It follows the iambic pentameter pattern, 5 feet of short long beats. The rhyming couplet at the end of the sonnet summarizes the theme. It ties up the images and feelings of the poem and often states the philosophy of the poet. William Shakespeare, Sonnet 116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends when the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark, that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is a star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although rosy lips and cheeks, love's not time's fool. Though rosy lips and cheeks, within his bending sickle's compass come, love alters not with even to the edges of doom, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error and upon me proven, I never writ nor man ever loved. The Petrarchan or Italian sonnet. Petrarchan sonnets are generally divided into the octave, the first 8 lines, and the sestet, the last 6 lines. There is a definite break in thought, and often the octave conveys the problem and the sestet the solution. The octave always follows the A-B-B-A-A-B-B-A rhyme scheme. The sestet varies and may comprise rhyme schemes such as C-D-E-C-D, C-D-C-D-C-D, or C-D-D-C-E-F. John Donne, Sonnet to Death. Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou thinkest thou dost overthrow. Die not, poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which but thy pictures be, much pleasure then from thee much more must flow. And soonest our best men with thee do go, rest of their bones and souls' delivery. Thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men, and dost with poison, war, sickness dwell, and poppy or charms can make us sleep as well. And better than thy stroke, why swallowest thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. Modern sonnets. These often combine aspects of the Shakespearean and Petrarchan forms. They may even create their own forms, but always retain the 14 lines. The ode. The ode is an address or tribute in praise of something. It is a lyrical poem describing the personal feelings of the poet. Originally, it was sung as an accompaniment to a Greek dance. Later, it was used as an address in praise of an inanimate object. Example: John Keats' Ode to Grecian Urn and Percy Bysshe Shelley's Ode to the West Wind. The Algae. The Algae is a reflexive poem or lament, often during dealing with topics such as death or mourning. Ray's Algae, written in a country churchyard, is well known. Other famous algaes are Milton Lycidas and Tennyson's In Memoriam. You will notice that the titles of poems are underlined, may, however, also be written in inverted commas. Thank you, the Steducentre, turning ordinary learners into extraordinary leaders.